Welcome to Meet Me in the Penthouse. I am Amy, along here with my sister Molly. We help high-achieving women increase their income, but most importantly, their impact. We are neighbors, sisters, and business partners. We have built 8-figure businesses together, traveled the world together, raised our children together, mentored thousands of men and women together, and it's all because we have a penthouse mindset. We aim for the top, and we show others how to empower themselves to peel back the layers and truly step into their greatness and calling. Welcome to Meet Me in the Penthouse. Hi there, my name is Amy Mosser. Welcome back to Meet Me in the Penthouse, where we help high-achieving women not only increase their income, but most importantly, their impact. And I have to tell you, I was watching a golf tournament yesterday, and I have grown up in the golf business. My former husband and I owned golf stores, and I'm not a big golfer myself, but I love going to golf tournaments. My husband and I go to golf tournaments. I love watching him. I love the mindset. I love being outside. I just love so much about him. And I always laugh because I can talk the talk. I have always had a great set of clubs. I just have never used them because I think what woman has 5 hours to play golf, right? To me, it just took too much time out of my busy day to go golfing, but I certainly do love watching it. And yesterday, Tommy Fleetwood won the championship, and he said the most profound thing that I loved. He said, he was being interviewed about his win, and he said, I've been a PGA Tour winner for a long time. It's just always been in my mind. Isn't that profound? So professional athletes, everybody, right? It is so important to see it in your mind first. And I was again reminded when somebody reached out to me. My son, as many of you know, was diagnosed with Lennox-Gastaut syndrome when he was 2 years old. So he was a normally developing child, hit all of his milestones, and then he began to have several hundred seizures a day. And I remember all of our friends were physicians. And I remember there is something wrong with me. There's something wrong with my child. And this was before the days of much internet, had just begun. But I got online and because I knew I was losing my son. He just was seizing all day long, and we'd had him life flighted. We've been to several different doctors and nothing was helping. And so I called nursing station, or I called a doctor up in Minnesota, a pediatric epileptologist. And what I thought was to book an appointment, knowing full well it was going to take 3 months, 6 months, 9 months, or longer to get into a pediatric epileptologist, I actually got through to a nurse's station. It was truly by the grace of God. I got through to a nurse's station and began to tell this nurse what was happening with my son. And she's like, well, you've reached the nursing station. We have a 12 hospital bed unit here. And I said, all right, ma'am, do you have children? And she said, I do. And I said, what would you do if you were me? And she said, I would bring him in through the emergency room. I'll hold the bed for you. So I hopped in the car and began to drive Charlie up to the hospital in an effort to save his life. He was seizing so much that I had to stop at our local airport in Omaha, Nebraska, and hop on and fly him to get him in through the emergency room. We took a taxi to the emergency room is how we got him in. And I'll never forget walking into the epilepsy unit and thinking, we must be at the wrong place, because all of these children there were teenagers. Many of them were teenagers. They had the little EEG wires all over their head. They were connected to machines, and many of them still were in diapers. Many of them were tube fed. All of them had their seizure helmets on. And so they were maybe teenagers, but more like a 2-year-old, more infant-like, right? So I remember walking in and saying to the nurse, I think I'm in the wrong unit. I think we're in the wrong unit with Charlie. He just has some seizures. And she said, don't worry about it. These children have Lennox-Gastaut syndrome. It's a very severe form of epilepsy. It's medication resistant. They'll remain a 2-year-old, a 3-year-old their entire life. She said, don't worry about it. We'll figure out what Charlie has. And within 24 hours, I got the exact same diagnosis of Lennox-Gastaut syndrome for my Charlie that those other children had. And I remember crawling to the end of the hallway after the doctor gave us that diagnosis on my hands and knees. I crawled to the end of the hallway, and there was a church across the street that had a cross lit. And I remember looking at that cross, and I had a spiritual experience. I had a spiritual experience that said, this voice inside of me, it was God, said, stand up, your child's going to be a miracle. And from that day on, I chose to become the mother of a son who was healed. I became the mother, the woman who had a son who defied the odds. And while Charlie was not at that particular time healed, I saw it in my mind first, just as Fleetwood did with his golf tournament, right? He saw himself winning before it actually physically happened. I saw my son being healed. I saw myself walking as the mother of a healed child who they were going to write articles on, who doctors were going to ask to see what our medical records said, because there was no reason except by the grace of God that this child went from having hundreds of seizures a day to none. So I saw myself. I became her. I became, in my mind first, the parent of a child who was healed, the parent of a child who defied the odds, the parent of a child, the mother. I'm going to say mother because damn it, I'm proud. The woman, the mother of a child who defied all odds. And I didn't tell anybody that that's what I was going to do because I saw it in my mind first and I claimed it, but I sure as heck was not going to just tell anybody that I had become that woman already because I knew nobody else had had the spiritual experience that I'd had. Nobody else could explain how they knew that it was going to happen. I knew it was something that God had entrusted me to hold, that I had to step into that woman, into that mother first, in faith, in full belief, in order to see it come into physical reality, right? And I think that's where so many of us struggle. The imagination is the greatest thing we have. God gave us this beautiful imagination. Everything in this world started in somebody's imagination. The phone that you're listening to this podcast on, right? The pen that you maybe are taking notes with, it all started in someone's mind. It all started in someone's imagination. 100%, everything. So why was my healed son not going to start in my mind first? I saw him healed. I saw him playing baseball. I saw him getting invited to birthday parties. I saw him getting weaned off all 5 anticonvulsants in my head, in my mind first. You see, having that imagination, seeing things as fulfilled, and then getting into the feeling. Getting into the feeling. I remember dancing around my room after I gave Charlie his medication and when he was at physical therapy for the 3rd time, that week. I remember feeling and knowing that he was going to be healed. I remember what I was going to wear when I finally let everybody know that Charlie was seizure free, that the lesions on his brain cleared up, that he was off all pharmaceutical meds. I saw all that in my mind first. I journaled about it. I sat in silence and meditated about it. I prayed about it. That is how it happened. I continued to take action and steps towards getting him there. Just like Fleetwood does on the golf course, he sees it in his mind, but he doesn't just sit there. He goes out and practices. He plays the rounds. He signs up for the tournaments, right? So it is that inspired action, but it all starts in your mind first. It's all that imagination. And you may say, well, Amy, you don't get it. You don't get it. You haven't experienced what I've experienced. I do get it. We all have our heart. We all have things that would tell us otherwise, right? We all have even the physical realities. You can look online and somebody can say, there is no way in heck Charlie's going to be healed from this diagnosis that is medication resistant, that there's no other children that they can find that are seizure free, medication free, and disability free. I still haven't been able to find. I found several that are seizure free, some that have breakthrough seizures, found some that are still on medication, but I have never found anybody that's just like Charlie. And I did not, the physical reality back 20 years ago didn't tell me that either. But I saw it and I believed it. Just like my sister who did a full Ironman. It was about 14 hours of continuous exercise, swimming, biking, running a full marathon at the very end. She saw herself crossing the finish line before she ever crossed it. She visualized the crowd cheering for her. She visualized the red carpet and them saying, Molly Croker, you are an Iron Woman. She saw that in her head, in her imagination, in her mind before she ever signed up for the race, before she ever started training hours and hours and hours a day. She saw it in her mind first. Our mother has been diagnosed with breast cancer twice. I do think it's interesting that the first time she was diagnosed is when we got the diagnosis for Charlie, right? It's amazing how I believe that your physical, your body takes on that stress, right? I know that Charlie's diagnosis was one of the hardest things for my mom and for our family. And the second hardest thing that we've been through is my divorce. And my mother's cancer set in again with that divorce and with her physical body reacting to the stress, right? We know that that's how that works. And so my mom, after she had her double mastectomy, and we were visiting, I said, have you ever thought that you were going to die from breast cancer? Even though her mom did. She lost her mom at 3. She says, oh, heck no. I know that breast cancer is not going to take me down. She sees herself as healed even after the doctor says you have breast cancer once, not once, but twice. She always sees herself as healed. She never, ever pictures herself anywhere else. She's turning 80 this year. We just took the most gorgeous photos of her with her scars, my daughter, my sister, my niece, our hands laid on her beautiful scars. It was the most gorgeous photo. If you haven't seen it, look us up on Facebook. It is stunning. It is powerful. My mother has never, ever once thought cancer was going to take her out. Does that mean that things aren't going to be, curveballs are going to be thrown at all of us? Heck yes. They don't deter us. They don't deter us because we keep that vision. We keep that dream. We hold the vision of health, of longevity, of healing in our mind. We continue to take action. We continue to move forward. We believe with our entire heart, with our entire mind. It is all about seeing it as done long before it comes in to that physical reality. And that is something I've worked every single day on since Charlie was diagnosed in 2005. I know how important the mind is, how important the imagination is, how important it is to see it as done in your mind before it comes into physical reality, because that's exactly how it happened. The Wright brothers that invented the airplane, they saw it in their mind first. Did people make fun of them? Did people think flying? How would that ever work? Of course. They were not deterred. They were unbothered, unshook. Same with me. When I got that diagnosis of Charlie, told to get a full-time caregiver, which I did for 3 years, by the way. And then I said, you know what? We don't need you anymore. There are other children that need you. He wasn't all the way off of, all of his meds and all that, but I saw it in my mind first. I let the nurse go. I don't need you anymore. He is healed. Are you willing to step out in faith? Are you willing to take wild, crazy actions because you know, like that God has put a vision in your mind? You have a vision that you are so passionate about, that is so a part of you. Are you willing to say, no, thank you. I don't need this anymore. No, thank you. This doesn't serve me anymore. I see it. I know, like I know. So again, I just loved that with Tommy Fleetwood saying that yesterday. And my husband stopped and said, "Oh my gosh, that is exactly what you teach, what I'm so passionate about sharing." And going back to that darn YouTube video that I made in 2005 that's still out there. And I remember when people say, "What is it that you did for your son?" I saw him as healed. It's a combination of a miracle, it's a combination of action, it's a combination of divine intervention. But 20 years ago, began living on purpose like this, making moves out of visions that God put in my heart. I began to walk the road less traveled because not everybody's going to understand. Certainly they didn't now or didn't then. They do now. How it works, how manifestation works. It's not just getting on your knees and praying and going to church and all of that. No, it is believing. When Peter walked on water, he saw it in his mind first. He had the vision, he held the vision that God placed on his heart, and he saw it in his mind first, and then got out of the boat and walked on water. If you want to get out of the boat, if you want to experience miracles, if you want to do great things, take hold of those visions unapologetically, unapologetically. Move forward in faith, knowing that those were not placed on your heart accidentally. There was a reason they were placed. And while you may not know the how will come when you hold the vision, remaining unshook, unbothered, and let the world witness the miracles with you. Thank you so much for listening to another episode of Meet Me in the Penthouse. Make it an incredible day. Hold the vision. Surround yourself with women who will help you hold the vision. Be unapologetically strong and walking in your greatness and your power. You are a miracle magnet, and I can't wait to hear all about the miracles that you experience. Hey guys, we'd love to have you join our waitlist for our class of You from the Top. There are going to be incredible women who are making incredible, decisive, clear decisions. The energy is fabulous. The view from the top is fabulous, and there's room for you at the top. Go to sistersnextdoor.com and join our waitlist.